Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Coming back to my story, I was talking about all the companies that were slandering me, bullying me, guilty of defamation of my character, treated me with impunity, and assassination of my character, and all guilty of oppressing me. But there's a few more companies and things I wanted to elaborate on. Well, there's all these companies I told you about, my work companies. Some of them are also compromising my safety and compromising my job integrity. And they were all guilty of being aware of my exploitation and slander. They all gave me jobs which compromised my hip integrity, deliberately. And I'll give you a couple of examples. TRANSFIELD was one of them, which I mentioned before. We had a tripper house job, and they were all giving me, 1 second. And they were all giving me jobs which compromised my hip integrity. So there was jobs with a lot of walking and a lot of stairs. I know it sounds a little strange because it's a mine site, but this was all deliberately done. I had a tripper house job and it was about 12 flights of stairs, you know. Had to climb up and down these stairs to go do a hand railing job up the top. And they gave me that job deliberately because they had planned on debilitating me by taking away my hip because of what they said I was, a rapist, a pervert and a pedophile, basically. So these companies were guilty of giving me jobs that compromised my hip integrity. That was TRANSFIELD at BHP in Pport Headland. BHP as well. So that job was given to me deliberately because of my hip, and they were also guilty of trying to confuse me and bully me. There was a rat up at BHP in Pport Headland in a cage. I used to see it in the mornings before our work, for our toolbox meeting. That rat in the cage was put there deliberately for me. That was the system bullying me. They were basically saying to me that I'm a rat. I didn't know this, I couldn't believe it. That rat in the cage was put there for me because right now I'm being bullied by the system. So what they were trying to tell me was that I'm a rat in a cage. It's like I'm a rat in a maze. The whole system is watching me everywhere I go and whatever I do. I didn't know that at the time. It's basically a metaphor for my life and how they've got me trapped now with the system. I got a photo of it. I took a photo of it, just for fun. And little did I realize that later on in my life I'll find out that it was there for a reason. So that was the system bullying me through BHP and TRANSFIELD. Because that rat, there was a guy in the Indian shop up the road here. He's also guilty of bullying me. He had a rat in his shop, and that was there deliberately for me. And there was a guy at the service station in Bentley, looked like a big bikey kind of guy, and I was driving there with the ute one time. This is about 2014. And he called out to me, "You're a rat." And he said something else. And I looked at him and then I just drove off. So everybody was calling me a rat. You see, at the time, I thought it was because I associated with a couple of drug dealers that they were calling me a rat, as in dobbing them into the police or getting them into trouble with the police. It was nothing to do with that. It was basically the system bullying me through them, calling me a rat, saying that I'm a rat in society. And basically I'm trapped. Because that's how they treat me now. The system's still bullying me now. So that rat was all metaphorical for my life, with the system enslaving me and entrapping me to it. I couldn't believe that. They're metaphorically playing out my life in front of me, calling me a rat. Had nothing to do with police and dobbing people in or getting people into trouble. At Downers in Newman, there was a Newman conveyor we were doing, and there was a lot of walking involved, up and down this conveyor, up and down this conveyor. And in Pport Headland, at the wharf, the Downers supervisor, he always walked like this, and he was doing that to speed me up. He was also part of it all. And there was a lot of walking up and down this wharf, and none of the supervisors or anyone would take me to the workshop and back. I always had to walk and walk and walk. These companies and all their employees were guilty of bullying me. Defamation of my character, treated me with impunity, assassination of my character, slander, and oppressing me. And the jobs, some jobs compromising my safety. With TRANSFIELD again at BHP, up in Pport Headland, we had wear packages that we had to carry down the stairs, about 3 flights of stairs. And Stympson was my supervisor, so he's guilty of compromising my safety as well. Because they gave me these jobs deliberately. Because I used to talk about 3 points of contact and how you can't really have 3 points of contact if you're going to carry something and walk down the stairs. So I realized that they gave me these jobs deliberately to bully me. Downers at a BHP. Hose reels near the conveyor, making me roll up, right around the moving conveyor and all that. There was a number painting job I told you about before. They done it to confuse me, for confusion, because they do a lot of things with numbers now and trying to confuse me. The system does that right now, but all these companies were in on it, bullying me. They were giving me these jobs of painting numbers on the conveyor, and I messed up the number. And where I messed the number up was next to the return conveyor, where everybody walks past and they can read the numbers that we're just painting. And no one said anything to me that I had messed up the one number. Not one of them said anything, and they all walked past those conveyor mounts. I was left there under the return conveyor, and it was noisy, you know. And they left me there deliberately, because in my life now they surround me with a lot of noise. This was all part of their plan through these companies, been bullying me from years back. I was put there on purpose for noise. I'll explain a little later. It's because the system's trying to basically make my longevity painful for me. They basically want me to be blind and deaf when I get older, and full of arthritis and all that, but I'll explain it in another video, because they say I'm a rat and a cockroach and a spider in society. TRANSFIELD in 2013, working with RIOTINTO. A couple of the jobs they gave me, a donga, which is the units you sleep in on camp, on the campsite, and they gave me this donga right down the edge of the camp, the furthest donga there is pretty much, which is making me walk all that way. They done this on purpose. And when the lady was showing me where it is on the map, they were trying to confuse me They were confusing me. They done it on purpose. They were bullying me. So these are just a few examples, but I was bullied and treated this way in all of my jobs. So these companies were guilty of obviously slandering my name, bullying me, defamation of character, treated me with impunity, assassination of my character, and oppressing me. Even when I went to do weld tests for these jobs, there was a place there, LOTUS Engineering in Rockingham. I went there for my last job at Downers at BHP in Pport Headland. And the guy came to pick me up to go do the weld test, and I was doing the weld test. And I started the weld test, and I was doing it. And then after a little while, the instructor came to me, and I told him how it was going, and I said, not too bad, you know. And he said, oh, maybe check the polarity, you know, check the polarity, because this and that, and my polarity was wrong. But the thing that happened was, when I walked in to do that weld test, the welding inspector, the same guy, he said to me, the weld is all set up and ready to go. I've just been using the machine. It's all ready to go. So he done it to me on purpose. He set me up to start doing my weld test with the reverse polarity. He done it on purpose. He was bullying me. If you ask these people, they'll tell you, put them on a lie detector test or in court. XLT with BOILYS and Co. We had to set up the welders from scratch. We had to cut our own plate. We had to do everything from scratch. Forge group in Spearwood. I went in there. Welding bay was a fucking complete mess. Leads everywhere, dirt and shit everywhere. No plate ready, nothing. I had to go around, find my own plate, clean up the bay and everything like that. They bullied me on purpose like that. They left it all a mess and everything. They done it on purpose for me. Because Forge was part of the system bullying me and treating me like a dog and isolating me and disconnecting me from society. Because Forge was a group that they metaphorically had to basically say they're forging a pedophile out of me. And that was the same company that wanted to send me to Shark Bay. Because they were calling me a shark, which is a predator, like a sexual predator. This is what they were calling me. So they got me to do a weld test with Forge, but they were forging a pedophile, and they wanted to send me to Shark Bay, all metaphorically bullying me in my life, mate. One key resources when I went to Sydney, the police were there waiting for me. The police were there, making a stand. That weld test was going fine. Then all of a sudden in the afternoon, the guy started rushing us. And I passed that weld test. A couple of months later when I ran up, Charles had disappeared and the lady said I failed a weld test. That's bullshit, because I've been doing these weld tests for over 10 years and they're easy. They bullied me. I didn't fail that weld test. They didn't have a plan for me working. They just wanted to see if I can do these weld tests, send me to places, and they were getting me excited, like for me to believe I'm getting a job. But that wasn't the case. Everybody knew I wasn't getting a job. They were just getting me to believe and being excited. So they're all guilty of bullying me, slandering my name, defamation of my character, treating me with impunity, assassination of my character, and oppressing me in my life and my career. All these companies, they were all bullying. I couldn't believe it when I found this out. In this last year, I've worked all of this out. I only found all this out last year. I've been putting it all together. That's what my whole story is about. I've been bullied by everyone in my life. I didn't even know they were bullying me. Calling me a rapist, a pedophile. A couple of others I wanted to elaborate on was the Beacon or Salvation Army in East Perth, West Perth, I think. There was a black guy named Noah. Now all their employees and the Salvation Army is guilty of slandering me, bullying me, defamation of my character, treated me with impunity, assassination of my character, and oppressing me in my life. And oppressing me in trying to be a father to my daughter, or developing a relationship with my daughter. That's the Beacon, the Salvation Army. They call it the Beacon in Perth. Noah, the black guy, he was walking in my way. This was when my hip wasn't replaced. My hip was still, I was still in chronic pain every day. And he was walking in my way. They took me bowling. Now how can I bowl with a hip that's in chronic pain every day? They done that just to bully me. And he parked by the bottle shop. Now they done this because I used to drink and I quit drinking. So they basically just bullied me. They done that with some of my work companies. We stayed at the pub. And I realized they done this on purpose. For me to start drinking again. Cameron, the white guy from the Beacon, he was flicking his eyes at me like this. Now that's what I used to do to my TV at home. So how come you mimicking my behavior for something I done in my own private space at home? I used to do that to the TV. So how do you know I do that? He was looking at me and going like that. Lisa from the Salvation Army. When I walked in there the first day and that, she's like, just take it, you know. She was basically bullying me because they say I'm a sexual predator and that, and because of what happened with Hayley Miles. It's like I just take the pussy from women, I just want the pussy, you know. So she's like, just take it. I didn't know at the time, I thought it was funny at the time. But after I realized what's going on in my life, and they were bullying me, it's not funny. And she also kicked me out. Laura, the girl from the Beacon, the Salvation Army. The Beacon is the Salvation Army, by the way. She was acting like a little girl bouncing on the ball, talking to me. Because they said I like little girls. So she's acting like a little girl. Peter, the other guy, counsellor, he was bullying me. And basically manipulating me. He was showing another guy, Brendan. He was getting another guy, Brendan, to bully me. This is the counsellor from the Beacon. His name is Peter. He's from the Beacon and Harry Hunters. Ken, the white guy from the Beacon, I saw him there one time. He's a counsellor and something, yeah. He's the same guy that offered me drugs down here, like an undercover cop. Down here by the whole library in Bentley. One night I was walking the dog, as I usually did. And he was asking me if I smoke weed and do I want some or can I get some. Yeah. When I went to the Beacon and Salvation Army, I realized it's the same guy. Trying to set me up or something. Xena from Harry Hunter's, she was laughing. Basically assassinating my character, bullying me. All these people. And there was a smoking area at the beacon on the balcony. My room was one side of the building, and the smoking area, you had to walk right around to the other side of the building to the balcony. And the funny thing was, right next to my room, there was a balcony as well. The building goes in like a square. There was a balcony next to my room and a balcony on the other side of the building by the other guy's room. And only that one there was a smoking area. And that was to bully me. Because I could have just walked out and smoked there. But because my hip was sore, they were bullying me. They were making me walk all the way around. This is what they were doing. They didn't care. When my hip was sore and I needed help, they bullied me even more. Ask them. They all guilty of slandering me, bullying me, defamation of my character, treating me with impunity, assassination of my character, and oppressing me. HOMESWEST. Chris, the guy from HOMESWEST, in 2015, when people were bullying me and I didn't know what was going on, he was in the car park and he said, like, you're not supposed to be here. I couldn't believe that he was involved in this as well. And in 2016, when I got this house,